Today's episode is brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. It can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more podcast platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started right now. Welcome to Unforbidden Truth. I'm Andrew. This is part one of a two-part interview with convicted murderer Daryl Shipp. Following these two interviews, there will be an additional two-part interview with Shipp's co-defendant, Krista Pike. You will not hear me conducting these interviews. You will be hearing juvenile justice expert James Sparks, who has over 25 years' experience in the juvenile justice field. James was gracious enough to provide me with these exclusive interviews with both Shipp and Pike. Please bear with us for the first 15 to 20 minutes. The audio starting out isn't the best due to the prison background noise, as well as the prison payphone quality.
The opinion expressed by the interviewer may not necessarily be the opinions of Unforbidden Truth. It should also be noted that during the course of these question interviews during the COVID-19 pandemic, that you're going to see a different sort of response. There's a different message now in regards to when we look back to 1995. Now you're going to hear the responses of two grown adults and actually what happened that night from their opinion.
My name is Daryl Shipp. This is the first time in over 20 years I've spoken about Krista or myself in any context concerning our crimes. You'll hear the truth of me concerning what happened on the night of January the 12th, 1995. This is the first time in over 20 years that I've spoken about Krista or myself in any context dealing with our charges. You hear the truth from me concerning what happened on the night of January the 12th, 1995. I feel that it's time for me to speak because Krista's life is on the line, and it's time for the truth to be told.
What put you in a situation where you ended up in Job Corps in Tennessee?
I started getting something out of it. My father and mother could have done the best way to try to come. My life was got to get them out of control.
How long had you been in Job Corps before you actually met Krista?
It wasn't that long. Maybe a few months.
What was your initial thought of her when you see her?
When I first met Krista, she was sitting on steps crying. So, I kind of, when I saw her, I got to be on because I got to understand why she was crying. So, after passing by her a couple times, I could sit down and talk to her. She was crying about she wanted to go back home.
Because I guess she didn't like the environment or what she thought it was going to be.
I was over there. She was homesick. She missed her friend or whatever. She didn't want to be there. I said I talked to her for a minute, told her, give her a little bit of a try, and let me work out for her. And that's basically how we met.
Okay. So basically, that was your first interaction with her, her sitting on a bench or at the steps crying.
Yeah.
And you just went over and tried to talk to her, see what was going on, and help out any way that you can.
As much as I could at the time.
I hear you.
It was just out the norm because everybody else was happy. She walked past her like she never saw us there. She was sitting there by herself. I went on the job, so I know how to get along.
Yeah. After you initially met her, what did you think of her?
I think she was okay. She was, I'm trying to find a word. I could tell she was sad. When we tell her she wasn't, like, at that point in a typical person, she was sad. There was something going on. Yes, I would know it just, I knew that something wasn't right.
So, you met her, y'all start talking. Did you have any romantic interest in her at the time, or were you dating anybody, or were you dating Colleen or anything at the time when Krista got there?
No.
So you weren't in a relationship at that time?
No, I was, being a young scouting kid, a young male with raised hormones or whatever at the time.
So how long did it, I guess, when you met her after that, how long did it take for y'all, I guess, to start dating or getting intimate or be sexually intimate?
As far as intimate?
Yeah.
A couple of weeks. I think like a week and a half because we almost became inseparable after that because I didn't know nobody else there. A couple of guys that, like my woman, whoever it was, she didn't know nobody. we started talking that day. After that, it was like, you know, we're together. We're around each other all the time. As much as possible.
So y'all pretty much clicked and then just became inseparable.
Yeah.
Did any time during this time, did Colleen come into the picture, or how did that interaction come about?
That didn't come about until, I think it was around like,
So how long around had she been there when, or Kristen and before that happened?
about
6 months, okay. Did Colleen show interest in you as well, or what caused, I guess, the problem there? I know you're a young male, and it's probably makes you feel good if you got two gals chasing after you.
what me and Colleen really didn't start to associate until around Thanksgiving. So Crystal went home during Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And yeah, I was like, Crystal kept went home around Thanksgiving. I stayed. And Colleen was there too. She stayed on the campus. And we would see each other, just being honest. I was a little young, horny dude.
Yeah.
And we started talking, and all from there wasn't like a course relationship, like a week or two, or something like that. It was like maybe a couple of days max before anything transpired.
Whenever, I guess, that leads me to, once you and Krista started dating, I guess, since I put that in quotation marks because I know how young love is, did you feel like, that if you asked her to do something for you, she would do anything that you asked her to do? Or did you feel like you had any control over her?
After a while, there was instances where I would show like something, it was almost as if she was trying to prove something. Krista wants to be accepted.
Right.
I'm saying, and Krista wants to be loved. The more I go back and look at it, as an adult looking at the situation, I could tell that she was missing a lot of something. I'm saying at the time I didn't know what was going on when that transpired. I didn't transpire. Like, I know a lot more now than I did then, of course. But there was a point to the point where she needed to prove that she was worth it. She had to work.
Did she ever discuss any of the things that happened to her childhood with you, or in the way that she was treated by her father or by her mother?
She didn't per se openly discuss these things, but there was a lot of times when Kristen was sleeping next to me, and it was almost like nightmare. I could hear her crying, like pleading almost.
Was it during the course that you acquainted? Was there any like the violent jerking or anything like that during that course that you can remember? Like night terrors or stuff like that?
So yeah.
And the reason I'm asking that is just because some of the issues she had, and with mental health issues, and who knows what that could have caused.
The first time I realized that, because I would have to say yes it was. The first time I realized that she hit me.
Oh yeah.
If I was sleeping, she hit me. I was sleeping and woke me up. I noticed that she wasn't conscious. It was almost like a crying moan. Not like a moan, like a grunt.
When she woke up, did she even recall any of it? She probably did.
No, she didn't recall anything.
I'm curious, did she ever talk to you about her relationship with her grandmother? Because her grandmother was primarily her solitude, the person that she trusted.
Briefly, not much.
So did you find that she was a person that wanted to seek approval but really wasn't willing to open up that much based on what she went through?
She rarely opened up. But it was like she needed approval. And that's the feeling like that. She needed approval, and she needed love.
Yeah.
She needed love. She was just like all those things like bored from her whole life.
Did she ever ask if you could talk to her about certain situations or anything that would happen?
She would shut down. Because after a while, it started to affect me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I cared about it, when certain things started to happen. And I would try to talk to her, she would shut down. It would frustrate me more, but it wasn't really nothing I could do about the situation.
And that I guess in a sense, sort of affected the relationship, would you say, or not?
It started to a little bit because when something's going on and you don't know, it's going to agitate. It's just the not knowing part, dealing with someone and not knowing why.
I guess you probably tried to explain that to her. How did she react to that? Because she may have not really had a secure relationship until you guys started dating, is what I'm wondering.
You know, I feel that she didn't know how to explain. That's the most honest way I can put it. She didn't know how to explain or how to bend at the time. So that's what I can make.
You feel that's the reason why she probably didn't share a lot of about her childhood with you?
Yeah. She ran from the lines. I refer to she would try to watch the audience for happiness or find an alley not to remember.
So during, I guess, this time, when I know that y'all getting closer and closer, would you say that, I know you're a young man, she was a young lady, but were y'all exclusive dating, or did she think you all were exclusive dating, or did y'all consider yourself an exclusive couple?
She considered us exclusive. Like I said, I was still young and I was doing a lot of dumb stuff. But it appeared to be exclusive on my part. Especially when if she wasn't there and someone was there, I may not understand. But she was, I honestly believe in my heart that she was exclusive all of it 100%. And she had full intention of doing everything that was exactly right for the relationship. That's what I understand. That's how I understand.
When did she find out? You said that, whenever she went for Thanksgiving, whenever you and Colleen hooked up, did she find out about that as soon as it happened, or was it a while when she found out about that? About what happened?
After she got back, it was like a couple of weeks. I don't remember how long it is. I don't think she actually found out. She may have thought something, but I don't think she didn't actually find out until after we came back on the Christmas break. Just a knowing of truth, knowing that something happened, or something may have happened.
Was Colleen acting different towards you, or acting as if she was her boyfriend, or what triggered her to act like that? Do you recall?
After the fact?
Yes. Yeah, after the fact.
After the fact, I never spoke to Colleen again.
Right.
Maybe it wasn't like a conversation held until the night of. Yes.
But did Colleen try to come at you? Y'all did what you did, and then you were probably done with it. Did she ever try to get back in your good graces or anything?
There was a few attempts, but it was based off more Stonewall because Chris was here and I'm not. I didn't. If I did do something, I would never do it in her face. So I was like, nah, you tripping. I don't know why you tripping. She's back. I'm not doing this.
So I guess when you got back from Thanksgiving, and even between that time between Christmas, before Krista found out, was there any attempts by Colleen to, leave you notes or talk to you in front of Krista? Or did she just, start sending you notes, start coming up talking to you, try to, in a sense, I hate to use the word bully with a young lady, but was there any sense like that where she was trying to just, get in your space and try to come at you as if y'all were together?
She attempted that a few times, but most of the times it was, she would come to me on an individual basis. Or when she didn't catch me around, but it was a few times she actually did, and that's when I kind of figured Chris was kind of figuring something out. But I was trying to avoid it. I didn't want to go through the BS with it. I was trying to avoid it, but it kept coming back. And after a while, we stonewalled, and she kind of pieced up. It wasn't at that point. It wasn't directed.
What was Krista's reaction when she noticed? Because they say women have intuition that men don't. Did she kind of give you a look or try to say what's going on?
Yeah, in a way, it was like basically what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't like really what the fuck I'm saying. I'm like I don't know. I would always try to play it off. Like I don't know if she's crazy. I don't know if she's crazy.
And did she accept that, or did she sort of give you that look?
She was kind of, but like I said, I found out later about the situation with them. So I assumed that Chris was trying to trust me, that I was telling the truth, and didn't want to come to the realization that something may have happened. But with everything that Connie was doing toward her, I guess it started like what the hell is that for something? It may possibly be something here. Why would she keep harassing me about this? Whether that's what it's about this and nothing is going on. Like I say, after a while she kind of eased up on me as far as saying something to me or any approach to me. But no, I'm not around this 24/7. It was constantly happening to her.
So do you think that Colleen had sort of turned it from you to her towards Kristen?
I think it was out of spite.
Would she, I guess, stand with other young ladies and, try to say stuff about Krista or anything like that you can recall?
I know it happened a few times. Like I said, a lot of times it was kept on me. I know it happened a few times as far as because there was a few of the females that was cool with and actually stopped talking to me about certain things. So I know that certain things were happening sometimes, but I didn't want to add gas in my at that point. I was just hoping that everything would die down.
I can understand completely, especially, because you don't want anyone to find out about what happened previously, and you want it to be done with. Unfortunately, in a situation like that, y'all want to control the environment, and it's very easy for things to start spreading, and get out of control like wildfire. I'm curious to know, Ed, you witnessed some of the way Krista would act, like during sleep and stuff like that. Did she ever get any, horrible mood swings or violent towards you in regards to any situation?
Yeah, she was a few times she was bad and bleepy out. But if I'm not mistaken, she had a thing about if I put my hand over her face, she would go crazy. Okay, there was a few instances where, like I said, she would go to her alternate substance to help her relieve herself. Mm-hmm. And so I don't, me personally, I don't believe in alternate habits. So I've never had. So as far as people using things to get away with their problems, we had arguments about that. She wanted to smoke weed all the time. I was totally against it. Now I see why she wanted to, because it was putting her in a place where she was more comfortable. I would literally snatch it out of her hand, throw it away. She was almost concerned. I'm somebody else wanted the way she coped with everything.
Did it ever get to the point where either one of you, took punches or swings at each other?
Yeah, I have. Yes, it did. 90% of it was because of drug usage. But there's no reason for me to even do anything to her concerning that, because I'm a man who's getting wrong. I understand that now. Yeah. But in the spot of anger, things happen.
Isn't it amazing the things you understand when you get older that you didn't think about when you were younger?
Yeah, but knowing now that she didn't understand what was wrong, what was going on with her, with the PTSD and everything, just the imbalance period with everything, everything that she didn't know anything about, that they weren't treating her for. And I know now that she was trying to self-medicate to cope. And I'm looking at now that when I attempted to interfere with that process, that she would get her raised and go into her mood swings. And honestly, I feel horrible for even having to, because she would see off and swing, and I would wrap her up, and she would fight, kick, and scratch, and I would tell her, and I would end up hitting her, maybe. It wasn't a lot of times I would end up hitting her, just man, what the fuck, what are you doing? But now I understand why she was doing it.
Did you have any idea, or did you think that maybe if the situation, the crime had happened, do you think that it could have been possible, or what were you thinking long term? Did you have any long term thoughts about you and Krista together, or did you think maybe this is just a job when I leave it's over with, or did you have any thoughts about y'all being long term boyfriend and girlfriend, or anything more than that?
Honestly, that was my heart. I expected every day. At that point, I could see if they were out. Regardless of what we went through, regardless of what 100%. And to the death of my mom, that'll never change. That'll never change. I'm married. My wife knows that I love Crystal. She thinks that'll never change. Crystal needs to be whatever. My wife knows she'll go to bag my Crystal. That has to change. I understand we're more friends now, but it's understood of my mom. Yeah, I was still understood back then that my life was hers. My breath was hers. My heart was hers. It was understood.
So, if the thing hadn't happened, then y'all could still be together, basically.
Yeah. There's a strong possibility.
Yeah. Did you ever let her know that after the fact, or, during the whole time that this was going on?
Yeah, I explained it to her. Okay. But she knew then that before we even got locked up, she knew that there was nothing in this world I wanted to do for her.
And you're not doing this now for any sort of money or anything to try to do this. This is, I want that, get that on the record in a sense, because I know.
I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. But like I said, I did a lot of stuff when I was a kid. I was regular, child, and stupid. And I understand that, you know what I'm saying? But, for years I was a Satanist. And it was a term that they had time they coined was that responsibility for the responsible. So, even though I don't live that lifestyle, I still hold to that value that responsibility for the responsible. I did things. I'm not going to make excuses for them. I deserve to be in prison. I don't think I deserve to be in prison as long as I am. I'm saying that Chris deserved to be in prison, but I don't think Chris deserved what she had. Right? I don't have a reason to lie to nobody because I don't owe nobody nothing. And I don't care how nobody feels about me. I love Chris unconditionally. But I also understand that I have to feel bad about the situation and accept responsibility and tell the truth about it. But it's that simple.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Sometimes it is just that simple.
And honestly, I went back and forth about saying anything because if you notice, I haven't did much talking over the years, period. So, I went back and forth. My heart was resolved regardless because, honestly, I haven't even told my wife now. My mother told my husband. I want to tell them after the fact because I didn't want to hear them trying to stop me from doing it. So my wife won't find out till tomorrow. After it's done.
And, we're just hoping that this will lead to something where attention will be paid so maybe people can reach out and at least get the death penalty off the table, to save the life. Because it was very obvious during the time, and we talked about this last night, that the jury makeup, the fact that you're African American, she's a white girl, that y'all were dating. In the South, things haven't changed a whole lot in the past, 50 to 70 years. There's still that mentality. And it's very unfortunate because you can't help who you fall in love with. That's just honest God's truth. You can't help it. In this situation, I think there was probably more twists and turns put to it than actually what happened. It's just like when you make a movie, you can make a real scary monster movie. When you got all the special effects and you got the right jargon and everything else. And in a sense, that's what happened. Not trying to take away or minimize the crime. Certain things could be elevated that actually didn't happen the way that it did. You know that, probably talking to the district attorney and everything else.
Well, yeah, and I know that year was one of the years where I was charged one of the first charges that year, the squad, what they consider the heinous part of it. And there was a lot of more charges that followed that same year. Now, at this time, I know that there was more play on how I believe and the relationship in general, because there was a guy that I was with that he got an overkill charge. He shot somebody 22 times with a Mac 11, and he got 6 years. The other guy who kidnapped, raped, and sodomized little girl. The little girl named Castro. I'm not gonna say the same guy because I don't want anything to trail.
Right.
He's out. He got 25 years for kidnapping, rape, murder, and sodomy. And he was on American Most Wanted. So, there's a lot of things that happened in that course of that time period. But people got a lot less time. It was just, but the only thing that was different is that, of course, the belief system, and that I was black and Chris was white, a white person. Because in other cases where the little girl was murdered, the guy was white. The guy that shot the guy 22 times was black. And there was a couple of kids, my family at the time, him and his girlfriend was on the charge together where it was the Papa John's murder. And he ended up with last name, she ended up with 25 years. So it was right though. So I'm saying that I'm saying the things that are transpiring. Now I'm not saying this is the sole purpose because like I say, what happened is what happened. I'm not taking away that there was something wrong with somebody's life or something. I'm not taking away that. I'm looking at that damage everything that happened. I'm looking at all the other cases that were around us that were just as bad. But the sentencing was different. Nobody got the death penalty in those cases. Except Christian. And that by itself can't resolve in my heart. It's BS. It's BS. She doesn't deserve that. And if they would have took time to sit down and actually go through her files and think about the mental health issues and all these things, okay, life without parole is understandable. It's understandable. A horrible thing happened. That's understandable. But this is just some spiteful BS that they were doing because they had the authority to do it. If they wanted to set some kind of precedent at the time, that we're not going to allow these things to happen. I don't.
You brought up a good point, as far as what the justice system was and about the things that happened to her. Did she ever talk to you about the previous juvenile placements she had prior to coming to the Job Corps? How basically the placement should have been like a couple months and she ended up staying there 15 months. Did she ever talk about any of that stuff?
No.
Because I think they would give you probably more insight on some of the stuff that she wouldn't open up about. Because, basically a runaway, a kid who's doing a status offense, if you will, like skipping school or something, running away from home, there's no business why they should be in a facility for 15 months when the program's only 2 or 3 months. But, I guess she found that stability there because that was the only stable life that she had. And I think that's, what probably she was hoping to develop whenever she got the Job Corps meeting you. It was some stability. It's something she hadn't seen in so long, since her grandmother. And, I can see in a sense, whenever she felt like that was going to be broken up, I can see where she could get territorial, especially with Colleen, in regards to that. And I'm not trying to take it for anybody, but, if you've got something and it seems like it's right and then things start falling apart, how would you react? How would anybody react if you're fixing to lose something that you had and you care about? So I think you already mentioned this, but your initial interaction with Colleen was whenever during that Thanksgiving break, correct?
Yeah.
And that was the first time that y'all really had any interaction whatsoever?
Yeah.
And was that the only time that y'all were intimate too, was during that Thanksgiving break?
Yeah. I didn't even know she existed. She came to me. I didn't even know she existed before that. She approached me. And she kept approaching me. I was like, man, go away. She kept on. And like I said, I was a young kid, raised damn hormones. I was like, well, fuck it. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would fault you for that. That's understandable. Did y'all have sex only that one time, or was it more than once during that Thanksgiving break?
Once.
And I know when you had mentioned the way Krista acted, I guess she was doing the women's intuition. Do you know what basically caused the fight between Krista and Colleen? The one that led to the crime?
It was something about Colleen finding some of her. I don't know exact details. Like I said, something Krista tried to keep from me. I was kind of, I'm gonna go to bat with Krista. So if anything happened, I don't give a damn who it was. I'm gonna say Krista hands down. So it was something that she knew that I would go a little extra on. Just like I know she'd go a little extra on certain things that I kept away from her. But I think it had something to do with pictures being burned, or I'm not sure. But I remember hearing something about some pictures that she burned the faces out of her pictures, something to that effect. She kept harassing her and stuff.
Colleen was doing that to Krista, correct? Just constantly coming at her like that.
These are the things I heard.
Did you know after, I guess, initially hooking up with Colin, whatever, but did you see a change in her where she was vocal or had a temper to her, Colin?
You have 1 minute remaining.
Like I said before that, I didn't even know Colleen was different. So the interaction between her and Krista, it was new to me, period.
Yeah.
And it was in a way hostile because it wasn't like, hey, how you doing? We're friends, we're best, we're going to talk. It was more like, bitch, what are you doing?
Well, she thought, she looked up to the man. If Chris had any inkling, you really can't blame her. Because she's like, what is this girl coming at my man for? Yeah. Or, even if she looked at you, and it doesn't, as you know, with them, like, they don't have to be anything. It could be just a look. It could be a smile. And it could be anything to set them off.
And then I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
But she felt it. She felt something.
What led to, I guess, the night, or what happened the night of which the crime took place? How did it start?
Some way everything came to a head. And I hinted that Colleen was trying to mess with me, but it was, I can't remember exactly. Some way everything came to a head that day. I don't remember exactly how. But I was like, let's just get up here. Y'all got a problem. Y'all can deal with this problem. And honestly, things got out of hand. And things escalated. Their intentions were never for things to go as far as they did. But once things started taking their courses, it was like, it happened. But the whole thing was that everything came to a head that day. It was like, I don't know if Colleen said something, but about us, and I was like, the details, like I said, it's been, almost 26 years ago, 25 years ago. So some of the details are not exactly in my head anymore. I'll be lying and say if they were. But I know that everything came to a head concerning the time that something transpired with me and Colleen. But I was still denying, saying no, she was trying between me and Krista. It wasn't Colleen and Jones between me and Krista.
So it's not like this was premeditated. It was just, hey, let's squash this, let's move on. And then everything just went south real quick.
The whole thing was, y'all got a problem. Let's go up here, get up here, let's tear this shit out. Because if we do it here, people are going to get kicked out.
Right.
So to avoid people getting kicked out, I didn't want Krista to get kicked out. I didn't want to get kicked out. Shadana was 100% there. I didn't want her to get kicked out. Didn't really care about nothing. But I was like, look, it's a better way. Let's go here and do this. Do it this way. That way, nobody gets kicked out for fighting here. Because my whole thing, okay, if it goes there, then it'll be a fight. At the most. This the only thing I foresaw even happening was a fight. Things evolved. So, as far as weapons, everybody carried weapons around.
Yeah.
That was a norm. That wasn't nothing. That's a norm there. I got to play out against that. Everybody had some kind of weapon all down.
It just really went south real quick, basically. Yeah. The emotions got crazy, overheated. But there was no premeditation or nothing like that planned for this sort of situation. It was just two girls squashing a fight.
The best way to say it mutated.
Right.
Because once we got there in the situation, just other things that was never brought up. And I don't feel comfortable talking about it. Just ask Krista about why she went to the hospital a couple of months before that. I don't know if she's spoken on it, but I'm going to let her speak on that. Because it's something that wasn't even brought up during trial. It's something that we've discussed, and it's even hard for her to discuss it with me.
Well, you can tell that things sort of get out of hand because when we were talking the other day, she got very emotional over something that I didn't really realize, just by a simple question. So that would be something that needs to be discovered, like you said. And I think you're right. It needs to come from her. Because it's really not right. It comes out of your mouth, in regards to something happening.
Yeah. Even though the situation affected me, like, really, it took her 25 years to say it. So I don't feel it's still on her.
was dealing with both of us, was dealing with her. And I don't feel that because of how much hurt it caused her, I'm gonna respect her position on that, and if she wants it to be said, she'll say it.
Absolutely. And I think we leave it at that. That's fair enough. Let's leave it at that. You know, we know what happened. We know the drawn out details because, you know, it's been written about, it's been on TV and everything else. Was any of this stuff, I guess, ramped up in a sense, and I hate to use that term because we do have someone who lost their life, but in regards to whenever they put on the case, you know, they have to give the most gruesome details. The situation with the pentagram, was that actually that obvious?
That was a spur of the moment thing that happened that I did. I know it's been two different stories told about it, but cut and dry, that was literally a spur of the moment thing that I did.
And I guess they related to, they said that you were a Satanist, all like that. And now looking back, you being a full-grown adult, a full-grown male, do you actually think that you could really understand the full concepts of Satanism at the time?
At the time, no. It took me the next 10 years to get a full understanding, grasp. After that, to get a clear understanding of actual Satanism under the concept of atomic mating. It took me another 10 years to completely grasp, get a clear understanding, because it has nothing to do with worship. So it has nothing to do with the whole concept of thinking that people think of. The whole form of Satanism at the time was using the archetype almost just like a shot. They used the word Satan because he was arrogant. He was the one that rebelled against. He was the nonconformist. It was the attitude of nonconformist. It wasn't the attitude of all the trappings. The trappings were there as a shot to draw people in or to make people think. But the ways of the concept that I took at the time were distorted. And so even though I don't care that now, I still understand that my views at that point concerning the Satanism behind the atomic was distorted.
And I think that that's probably, like you said, you're knowledgeable now because you took the time to educate yourself in regard to it. Because I think there are folks now say that you know, I guess you're born again Christian, and you know, I'm just repeating what I've read. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but you know, I never really get into people's beliefs because I just don't think it's anybody's business. You know, like they say, religion and politics. Let them lie. Let them dogs lie. So I'm curious after this happened, you know, because, you know, as you mentioned, this was not planned. This was not premeditated. It was just sort of trying to squash this fight with these two young ladies. What did you do and how did you react after the murder? What were you thinking?
Honestly, what the fuck? That's basically what I was thinking about. Yeah. What? How? But once it just resolved that this had happened, I didn't know what to do. Like I said, I was a kid. I didn't know what to do. But it was more like, it almost fed to the pillow like, oh, this really happened. This actually happened. This is real. And it was a moment of having to accept that something actually happened. And by the time that happened, we were getting arrested.
And at any time, did you ever tell anybody that Coleman was your sacrifice to Satan?
I don't remember saying that. I don't honestly remember saying that. But I said so much stupid stuff back then. Honestly, I said so much stupid, just off the wall stupid shit back then. I don't remember if I did it again.
That was part one of a two-part interview with Daryl Shipp. Don't forget to check out part two, which will be coming out on Thursday. Following these two interviews, there will be an additional two-part interview with Daryl Shipp's co-defendant, Krista Pike, and that interview will also be conducted by James Sparks. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the interview. See you on the next one.